Okay, welcome back to the journey. And as promised, we are going to be able to speak with Rosalia Guest. We already heard from her husband, Nate. And so welcome, Rosalia.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is so nice to have both halves.
Yeah.
Not that we're checking on the accuracy of one story against the other, but
You might not be, and Nate might.
So, I did get a little bit of background in terms of how long you've been around, but I'm just wondering, tell us how your journey into the Catholic Church started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm what they call a cradle Catholic, right? So I was born into the Catholic Church. Both my parents are Catholic. So they raised us in the Catholic Church at St. Bart's in Manchester. So we were there until Nate and I got married and moved down here. And we went to Sunday school. My mom taught first grade. I was able to go to the mount before confirmation, received all my sacraments and everything. So it started obviously at home with my parents, which was amazing. And then when I got to college, usually that's where people are like, I don't know about this whole Catholic thing. Mass is really hard on a Sunday morning, but I went to Shippensburg University, and there's actually a church right in front of the campus. And wow, yeah. So that was one of my pulls to go to Shippensburg, because I was like, well, that's really nice, because when I live at campus, I can just walk to church.
So you were looking for that. That was that criteria.
Yeah, I mean, literally when you pull up to the campus, there's a church on the right, and then you go right into the big sign that says Shippensburg.
That's unusual. Many people are looking for a church to help choose a college.
Yeah, so
wow.
It was pretty much like field hockey and education, science, and then having that church was like my last, this is definitely where I should be. And then that's where I really deepened my faith, was in college, because you get challenged a lot when you're in an environment with a bunch of different views and backgrounds and stuff. So that's where I started to really dive into my faith deeper.
And how did you do that? I mean, I get the church was right there, but you had to own it and take on some discipline to want to do that yourself.
So some of my friends that I had met at school kind of challenged me on how I lived my life a little bit differently than how they lived theirs. And they didn't quite understand why I was making certain decisions. And I knew that it was because of my faith. But I wanted to be able to, in the right way, share that with them. And I didn't want to, push it down their throat or anything, but I wanted to let them know, this is why I live the way I live. Because of that light that we have as Christians and as Catholics that other people may not be able to experience or share that way. So I wanted to explore it and understand it better so that I could share it with those people around me. And then the priest up at Shippensburg, he was one of the three that was at our wedding. He was amazing. I mean, he just really helped me understand what I was a part of, and helped me at that school. I mean, him being a Catholic minister at that church, being that priest, he really knew what he was doing, working with college students.
Did you meet with him and have discussion? Or was there a group of young adults?
Yeah, so there was a Catholic campus ministry at Shippensburg, and me and my roommate, we started living together in our junior year. She needed a house and I needed a roommate, so she moved into where I was, and she came up to me like, I'm really happy that you're Catholic, because I have kind of fallen away and I want you to hold me accountable. And then I was like, I really need to know what I'm doing so I can help her deepen her faith. So the two of us really kind of helped each other grow in our faith. And then with Father Dwight was his name. With Father Dwight, he kind of saw me around, but didn't really know who I was. And then my roommate and I started going to Catholic campus ministry events together. And that's where we started to have those conversations. There were Tuesday night dinners, and anytime you offer college students free meal, we'll do it. They're going to be there. So we were there pretty much every week on Tuesday, and that's where I got a lot of those conversations with Father Dwight.
Now, hearing you talk like that is so unusual, because not that many people would want to learn more deeply about their faith so that they can help other people. I mean, that's evangelism. Adventist missionary disciple stuff at a young age. Where'd that come from?
I, let's see. Well, I think it's like part of my nature to want to teach. Like I've always wanted to be a teacher. So that being my profession, and then that coming into my personal life and my religious life in a different light, kind of made sense for me to be like, well, I can't teach you until I know myself to be able to share that with you. So I think it's part of my personality.
Well, so you were sort of an evangelist at college?
I was trying. I didn't do such a great job, but I think at that stage I had realized that I'm no longer the one that's attending Sunday school, but I might be the one that's teaching. And I'm no longer the one that's just showing up to Mass, but I should be the one that's bringing people to Mass. So I think once I kind of realized I'm growing up in the church, you're told when you get confirmed, like you're now an adult in the church and your faith is your faith and you got to own it. I didn't quite understand that when I got confirmed, but I think in college, that's where the Holy Spirit was kind of like, here you go. Now it's your job. Here I am.
To do it. Yeah. Well, so in your evangelizing or encouraging, I should maybe say it's an easier word, were there times when you helped somebody who a light just turned on? Do you remember any special occasions or people that you helped along the way?
I'm not sure I was strong enough at that point to really bring people into the faith from where they were. But I went to a evangelist training camp, ETC.
Surprise.
And that was at the University of Notre Dame, and it was amazing. Yeah. So
tell us about that.
Yeah, they told us there that if we wanted to water a plant, which that plant being someone that you run into that you want to bring the faith to not water the little flower with a fire hose. So you don't drown it, right? But you want to nurture it. You want to give it what it needs at that time. And the person that shared that with us also shared a story of someone who brought him into the faith. And it was like 2 years before he actually was like, this is where I need to be. I need to be Catholic. I need to be a part of this church. So that's what gives me hope is maybe I haven't you wake up tomorrow and you're like, she said something really smart yesterday. I should go check out this Catholic church. But it might be a year or so down the road that something just pops back up and they're like, oh my gosh, this is what she was talking about. So that's kind of my goal is if I can just be that little seed, then maybe I'm not the one where the flower starts to bloom, but if I can help grow the plant.
Yeah, and watch out for the fire hose.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned earlier talking to, I guess, people you met there, and being aware of your life or lifestyle choices. Can you say anything about that? I know that's the borderline person.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Being the way that I was and the way that I still am, I'm always like a rule follower. So if there are rules, I will follow them. And I feel that leads me to be more respectful. Just by default. If you tell me you don't want me to do something, I'm not going to do it. If you ask me to do something, I'm probably going to do it for you. And just the college lifestyle that people live is often, well, I'm here for school, but I'd like to also go out and do things that might not be legal at that age. Right?
Wow.
I'm not 21 yet, so I'm not going to go out and do things that might not be legal at my age. I'm going to stay home, or I'm going to go on a run, or I'm going to go up to the church. And there's a Mary statue behind the church. I'd often run up there, sit down, and just be like, this is a lot better. And there was a party street right next to, of course, the church. So it was so loud and everything. But I just somehow still found peace with just sitting there. But just those decisions that what I chose to do with my Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays were much different than what other people did. I'm getting up to go to church on Sunday where other people are still asleep.
Well, that's the kind of thing that some famous person said. Preach the gospel, and if you don't, and if you must, then use words, right? It's by lifestyle.
Yes. And then
I know I messed that up.
I asked Father Dwight, I was at a point where I had people in my life that I was like, they're so close, but what do I do to help them like feel the fire that I feel, right? How do I get them there? And he was like, first off, you're not Jesus. Your job is not to save. And that really sat with me. So I was like, okay, all right. So I can help, but it's not my job to convert. And it's not my job. Like, that's when God's going to do his work. And he said, the best thing you can do is live by example. And the example that you give to your friends, your family, your coworkers, your students, your athletes, like all that kind of stuff. The example that you give to everybody else, that's what's going to show the most. And that's what's going to be the most effective.
Well, that makes perfect sense, because if otherwise people would just sort of shut the door and say, forget you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fire hose method.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I wanted to find out how you went beyond college then with a strong faith like that. And how did that play out in your young adult life at the beginning? I know you're not that far into it.
It was a lot harder coming home because of the spiritual community you have at school. You're with your friends, you're with the same age group. There's a church right in front of campus. Y'all walk there together. You go to eat after church, whatever. You do a bunch of things together, and then you get home. And a lot of people experience that just on a normal, like, where are all my friends now? You know, and I know I'm still going through that transition of, where are all my friends now? How do I meet people my age in this community? So being at home was difficult, but my husband and I were dating while I was still in school. So that helped, because when I came home, I had him still. And we were both at that point of like, but where are all my friends now?
Looking for community.
Yeah. And at St. Bart's, it wasn't I would say the demographic wasn't as young as it is here down in Sykesville. So coming down here and then joining women's group and my husband joining men's group, we were like, oh my gosh, there's young people. There were people with husbands and families and babies. And so that really helped. I mean, just being able to be a part of that, because then again, I was challenged. Hey, do you want to do this talk? Well, yeah, duh. Hey, do you want to be a part of this group? Well, yeah, duh. So then those forced me again to learn so I could then teach. And I encourage anybody, like, just get involved wherever you're at, you know, whatever church you're at. If you're feeling that, man, I just don't know where to go in my faith, or I don't know what else to do, find something to do at the church that you're a part of, because that really helped us. Instead of just sitting back and waiting for people to come talk to us, we were like, all right, we need to get involved here. And then once we did, we found friends, other Catholic couples, other families that we can relate to.
Well, speaking of getting involved, how did you meet your husband?
Church. So we went to the same church growing up. Once he moved, his family moved into Carroll County.
St. Bart's, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, so we were both in youth group together. And I remember seeing him in an event, and I was like, that's kind of cute.
We have it on camera.
Yeah, it's like and the funny thing is, his mom was my Sunday school teacher, and his sister is my age. So we were in the same class, and me and his sister were getting along very well. And I think his mom saw that and was like, finally, she's got a friend. Be friends. So then we started hanging out more, and I saw Nate around, and I did have a crush on him, and he knows that. And his mom also knew that. So I think she encouraged that relationship, not only with his sister, but also with him. Mm-hmm. And of course, like, we're 3 years apart. So when I got into high school, I was a freshman. He was a senior. My mom was like, I don't know about that. And understandably so. And then he went to college, and I was still in high school. And then he was almost done college, and then I was in college. And we both reconnected at a point where we were both pretty low. We were going through a lot personally, or I was really struggling in school. I just had too much going on, and I'm not one to quit. Like, if I sign myself up for it, I'm going to finish it, right? So if I'm withdrawing from French, that was like the biggest downfall for me in college. It was withdrawing from, I don't know when I would have ever used French as a science teacher, but it was hard. Yeah, right. But that's what I had to do, but I needed the strength to do it. And we actually reconnected at the point where we were both pretty low. We just kind of remembered that each other existed. He wished me happy birthday on my birthday. And then ever since then, we just continued to talk. And I think we found value in that friendship that we were able to give each other. And having that same foundation, just you can skip that step, right? And you don't have to talk or argue or explain that part of your life. You can kind of skip that and then go on to fostering an even deeper relationship.
Well, I asked him if I could have you tell that story instead of him. So we'll have to check with him later and see if he sees it all the same way. I'm sure he did. Well, I wanted to ask you, how has becoming a mom influenced your relationship with Jesus, Mother Mary?
Oh my gosh, Mary.
Yeah.
Whole new world. Last January is when we found out that we were expecting. So it was like right before Lent. And I've always loved Lent, which sounds weird, but I also feel like that's a Catholic thing to be like, oh, this is the time for me to like cleanse, purge, everything I need to do. Let me clean up my life, my spiritual life a little bit. And then Easter is such a beautiful celebration of all of everything that has been resurrected or out. So we found out in January, then Lent starts. And I was doing Stations of the Cross. And, early pregnancy is so difficult. You're like, you don't want to move. You're very tired. You try to eat like you're hungry, but you can't eat anything. And we would do Stations of the Cross at home. We found a video. And I went to Stations of the Cross before, but they didn't hit as hard as they did last year. And it was especially the stations where Jesus encountered Mary that I was like, oh my gosh, that could be my kid. How would I react if I was Mary in that situation? I'd never thought of the stations from Mary's perspective until last year. And I cried. I sobbed during those stations because it hit me in a completely different way of now I'm carrying a child and I could not imagine anything hurting this child and how much that would have hurt Mary for her to have to just sit there and watch Jesus go through everything that he encountered and everything that he suffered for us.
I can't imagine going through the station pregnant. That was a particularly powerful moment.
Yes, it for sure was. And at that time, we didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. It was my first pregnancy, so I didn't know how healthy I was going to be or the baby was going to be. So
a lot of unknown.
Yeah. And it put a lot, and that kind of forced me to then use Mary's intercession for strength, but also to put my trust in God and just say, if this baby's going to be a girl, awesome. If this baby's going to be a boy, awesome. If this baby's going to be healthy, awesome. But it's all up to him, right? It's all his will. So that allowed me to kind of be humbled and ask for that strength from Mary. I definitely called upon her a lot.
So a real surrender and humble way of looking at your life because of her. I mean, she was the most humble of all women.
Yeah.
So I can do with you what I did with Nate and see if there's any difference. Let's see if I remember. We played a little game at the end. Mm-hmm. And so let me see. What I wanted to do was a word association. So I would just want to give you a couple words and see what comes out. I'll start. The Saints. Just give me your thumbs. The Saints.
I think of my confirmation Saint Lucy.
Saint Lucy?
Yeah.
She's the saint of what? You don't know.
I know it is vision, and she's always seen with like eyeballs on a plate. Just super strange. But when I was searching for a confirmation saint, I wanted two things. I wanted something that was about light and something that was about fire, because those two things were very visual to me growing up. To like encourage my faith and kind of explain what I believed. So Lucy means light. And when they tried to persecute her, they tried to burn her alive. And she did not burn. So I was like, well, that's easy. St. Lucy. I'm done.
Wow.
So, yeah.
St. Lucy. Okay. The next one is Eucharist.
I think of adoration.
Adoration.
Well, I don't know if I'm doing this right, but
There's no right. It's all what you think.
yeah, adoration. Adoration is really important to me. Just being able to be silent and let the Lord speak to you instead of you trying to do it all. Just being able to be quiet and listen.
It's hard for a lot of us. I know it's been challenging for me because I want to talk.
Right.
Him.
Yeah, and it's been a big shift. I think probably since I had my daughter, that my shift has become, instead of after receiving the Eucharist at Mass, like continuing to talk and say, please do this, please do this, please do this. I've been able to be more thankful for what I have, because I just received this body of blood that he gave up for me. I should probably say thank you every now and then.
That's a good lesson for all of us.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay, couple more. The Mass.
I think of family. It extends beyond just me, my husband, and my daughter, but parents, friends, everyone around us, being one church, being able to celebrate together.
All right, one last one, I think. Peace.
Peace. I don't know. I'm thinking of like a dove and white. Like very pure. Sometimes hard to see and hard to come by, but when it's there, it's beautiful.
Oh, there was one more. Holy Spirit.
Oh, that's my fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard you say that. I was like, okay, I've got to be sure and ask her that.
For sure. I've always thought of like God being what I'm walking to, Jesus walking right next to me, and then the Holy Spirit being like my fuel to get there. So I feel like my best relationship in the Trinity is probably with the Holy Spirit.
Well, I think that's a wonderful way to end. The energy, the fuel. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. Of course, wonderful to get to know you more. And we're happy about Zipporah. Yes, going to watch her grow.
Yes, yeah, already.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to the next journey.